the how-to and the how-not. No cheat sheet so you can backseat drive your way through this life. Your guess is honestly as good as mine. So what? We respond to intuition, get lost in inanition, expect the short and simple and end up with a mission, or on one. Or feeling like we need those type of days back, but they're gone. Paving over pictures of paradise to fold out a flat pack future that you could get used to. Why? Because some vampiric satirical Tory told you the only way for you was a 2.4 life. Much joy and little strife. And the ones that bore you said you will be special, and grind you down in an heirloomed mortar and pestle, hoping one day that you will break the mould. Put a crack in that bowl and align it with gold and rinse and repeat. What a feat. We can't all be original. We are matter, we are residual, we are everything and nothing, and that amounts to something. So why is it not okay to miss the mark that you have made? You cannot be a master of a craft that you did not create. Yet, to approach this life from a studious state aggravates. To belittle the student and praise the sensei doesn't really make much sense, eh? Poignantly pointless, they say, listen more and say less. You know nothing, you're amazing, you're 1 in a million. And I mean that. I won't be replacing or retracing this highly debasing phrasing. You are amazing. Just not the only one. We are reaching these higher states of consciousness to unravel what's been done before us. From the ascension of my ancestors, I transcend this spiraling thought. Begin to separate from what I should and what I ought to be or not to be. It's not even a question. I vow to be. Consistently, to revel in naivety. So I reject this scripted society, this one-size-fits-all money-making machine, with all its brainwashing cycles, has in fact washed mine clean. I am a living infusion, self-assured in my confusion. The knowing is all about the not knowing anyway. Thank you. A meme, sort of infographic which was more than it seemed. It showed a picture of some kittens, mostly white with flecks of black. It caught my attention. I read the text because, you know, I love a cat. It said, a fever coat occurs when a mother cat is sick during pregnancy. The kittens are then born with a greyish-white fur, which eventually fades to black as they age. I blinked, I think. From white noise to blackout, my mind became an abyss. What is this? Why am I empathizing with this cat? I'm certainly not a speciesist, it's not about that. It was a different sensation, not my familiar void. Rather, a part of my psyche that I actively avoid. So, I'd like to delve with minimal mudslinging and discuss my mother, my experience, and my upbringing. Her mother sailed to these lands to provide labour for a living. She did not complain, ever growing, ever giving. 6 daughters sought after the treasures that were promised. A good education and jobs if you tone down and remain modest. They were young, but not too infantile to understand that they were gifted opportunities, taught to never bite their hand, and that they were black. And that's that. So this became their learned behaviour, to comply to this country, and one day subservience would be their saviour. One of those daughters bore me and a brother, and one of the lessons I learnt from my mother was good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes better and your better becomes your best, but that bettering was a battering in here. Constantly conflicted, yet learning to adhere and understand the patois that was spoken. but not to repeat it to my peers or I'd be seen as a token. To conform to these societal expectations whilst partially cloaking my roots, these, the very foundations, the roots I should be watering, but only where I reside, not outside. We never spoke of it, my guess, a matter of pride. So I found my solace in music. No parental limits were placed. It was mine, I got to choose it. Offbeats, big bass, heavy riffs, untis, and with this I became a mighty fine mosher. Hanging out with punks, doing drugs, getting drunks, much to the dismay of my mother. I wore wide baggy jeans, fishnets and new rocks with everything. Drew on that drippy and dramatic eyeliner to represent the sadness within. And although I felt at home on my new metal throne, it was still a shock to that scene. I mean, have you ever had to justify to some dude why you're attending this gig, how you discovered this tune? Because you're the sore thumb and they don't even see it as rude. So now I'm construed as the black sheep. And that's deep. Because this livestock label didn't just stop there, it welcomed me in at home pretty much everywhere. To my family, I was a bounty, a Malteser, a coconut gal, because I didn't please them. They grounded me for announcing myself as a Wiccan, but for dinner we ate a Sunday roast with jerk chicken. So for many years of my life, I have been this kitten. Monochrome with a grayscale ombre, and thusly my focus has never been to fit in. And rightly so. The wider world is waking up, trading their tokens in and taking another look. Typecasts are out of paper and ink. Pigeonholes are full of stale labels that have been pushed to the brink. So my only wish is to break the systemic sickness that they have bore witness to, and shed the coat I forged from the unfortunate situations that me and my mum have had to live through. I have come to understand the friction between me and my mother, or the stress and conflictions, and now I just embrace the amalgamation of culture. Mate, eat a full English with plantain. Move with force. We are the unchained. My fever coat has faded. Only onyx overtones shall overthrow. From a kitten to a cat to a panther, I always leave room to grow. Thank you. Gatherings such as these are important, with speeches absorbent to those who need to hear. To those who need to hear what we should and what we ought to be fighting for year after year, whilst others refraining. We gather, campaigning for what it takes to work, to represent our worth. Without obligation, this organisation, a formidable formation, fortification, supporting through disciplinaries, dismissals and redundancies, bargaining for a better wage, for the integrity of our trades. It is an utter shame. We have to prove who we are, the workers, the citizens, the quality of our calibre. Since 1866, picket lines forged and standards raised, strikes, walkouts and human chains. But change has been made. Heartening minorities, facing authorities to strengthen the voice of the working class community. But what else brings us together? Provides the vigour and the drive, opposing oppression, deserving more than just to survive. And in this day and age of selfishness and all for one, it feels rare to be so honoured, so fairly, so loudly, so proudly, so populate a crowd, for it is clearly a cause for celebration. Yet, Sincere synonyms such as solidarity, unanimity, and all for the sake of harmony is in a way a matter of negation, for our rights are still not being met. Otherwise, what is the requirement for this congregation? Because we see hope, power in numbers. There are more of us and less of them, and thusly creating thunders. The storm will not be easy, but we will always outnumber. Lightning makes moments of asunder, but it will create a spark, one to carry on with heart. To be heard, to be noticed, is more than half the victory. So applaud yourselves, members in communion, the Manchester Trades Council, forever in union. Thank you very much for listening.